He was a German man who spent 16 years teaching in one of China's most impoverished mountain regions. He worked without pay and asked for nothing in return. Locals called him a weirdo, even mentally ill, and some suspected he was a German spy. But he never explained, never argued. He simply stayed, quietly accompanying the left-behind children from his youth into middle age. It wasn't until the media covered his story that he became a household name in China. Some called him a saint. Others mocked him as a failed idealist. But he remained silent. Then in 2013, he suddenly vanished from the public eye, no goodbye, no explanation. As if he had never been there at all. His name was Lue Anke. Born in 1968 in Hamburg, Germany, he graduated from the design program at Hamburg University of Fine Arts. In the summer of 1992, he came to China as an exchange student, first studying architecture at Southeast University and later transferring to Guangxi Agricultural University. After graduating in 1996, he returned to the land that had captured his heart and spent 6 months in rural Yangshuo, Guangxi. It was during that time he realized the real issue in the countryside wasn't economics, it was education. Starting in 1997, he volunteered to teach German at a school for children with disabilities in Nanning. He later taught in Yangshuo, Guilin, and Maoshan, Nanjing. During this time, he was fined $400 and deported for teaching without a foreigner's work permit. In 2001, he arrived at a middle school in Donglan County, Guangxi, to volunteer as an English teacher. He didn't use textbooks or tests. Instead, he taught through language immersion, just as he had learned Chinese himself. But since his methods didn't improve test scores, parents complained and the school had no choice but to let him go. He later taught 14-year-olds who had never attended school, teaching them how to draw maps and repair roads, trying to spark their creativity. But he found they could only follow instructions mechanically, their creativity had long been erased. Lue Anke realized that to develop the ability and strength to complete tasks, you had to start with young children. In 2003, he began teaching without pay at Banlai Elementary School, one of the poorest and most remote schools in Guangxi. At first, people were suspicious. After all, no one believed a foreigner would come to the countryside just to teach. The children, who had never left the mountains, were afraid of the strange-looking foreign teacher. Over time, mistrust faded, but a bigger challenge appeared. Most of the students were left-behind children, with parents working far away in the cities. Some hadn't seen their parents in 4 or 5 years. Lue Anke realized that what they needed most wasn't knowledge, it was companionship. Every weekend, he took turns staying at different children's homes, eating with them, working with them, and even sleeping in their homes. Just having someone there meant the world to them.
只是陪着你们。
是啊，那样我就觉得就够了。
真的？
是啊。
你对一个大人的要求就是这样吗？
是啊。
No matter where he went, the kids clung to him, hanging from his shoulders like monkeys, calling him old Lou or even dad.
为什么这些小孩看到你的时候总是缠着你，拉着你的手，然后捏你的脸，揪你的衣服？他们为什么总这么做呢？
我把我的一切都交给他们，不管他们怎么对待我，我都要承受了。
At Banlai Elementary, he taught music, PE, art, and science, encouraging students to discover themselves and express freely without rigid rules. He took them outdoors, moving the classroom to rice fields, riversides, and forests. He spent his own money to help the students build a small dam near the school and pointed to it, explaining, "Too little water and the crops won't grow, too much water and it's just as bad." He never preached, he just experienced everything with the children and let them feel it for themselves. Because of a lack of discipline, many kids acted out violently. But instead of correcting them harshly, Lue Anke used a group art project to teach them about space and respect. He even wrote a script called State of Mind and had the children make props, do voiceovers, and perform. He purposely cast the class bully as the hero, a character whose strength came from enduring hardship, someone who never fought back when insulted or beaten, yet saved the day in the end. The children never imagined they could make a movie. But Lue Anke used action to show them that true strength is not about bullying the weak, but about staying resilient through adversity. The kids may not have fully understood the story, but they felt a sense of involvement, and created a unique memory. Sometimes they would come up to me and say, "I don't want to go to class today, can I just stand outside?" He never tried to change them forcefully. Instead, he let them feel things for themselves, to experience, to grow, to gain confidence from within. Lue Anke gave so much to his students, yet lived a life of extreme simplicity, a knockoff oversized tracksuit, a pair of worn-out sneakers he'd been wearing for years. In more than a decade of rural teaching, he never took a cent in salary. He translated large volumes of educational books, but donated all the royalties. Every dollar he spent came from the $700 his parents sent him each year. Perhaps this mindset was rooted in his family. Lue has a twin brother who volunteers with Greenpeace International, and a sister who teaches in Namibia, Africa. None of them had what most people would call a normal job. Their parents never pressured them to live a certain way.
与他们吗？
好像不觉得，他们也很关心我，他们也付出了很多很多，但想不到我属于他们。
那你会像我们中国人这样去考虑责任吗？比如说，我觉得父母已经老了，然后需要在他们身边去照顾他们，把自己的时间多一些给他们。
我也这样想过，但他们不要，他们觉得，不如我在学生的身边，他们觉得我在他们身边就可惜了。
As he grew closer to the children, Lue Anke felt his fate becoming more deeply tied to the village of Banlai. In early 2004, he was in a serious car accident. On the way back to the village, the farm vehicle he was riding in crashed. He was pinned under the vehicle, and another passenger died on the spot. His spine was compressed by 3 centimeters, and it took him 3 full years to recover. But the accident didn't drive him away. I felt like this accident tied my life to this place. Everything that happened to me here became destiny, became fate. In 2009, he gave his first media interview. After the show aired, reporters flooded in. But Lue Anke avoided them all. He refused every interview and news story. Then came the rumors, people accused him of being a dangerous person, even a spy. The pressure became overwhelming. In 2012, after the documentary Goodbye, Lue Anke aired, he gradually faded from public view. He shut down his blog and left a final message. I'm not from this country, and yet I keep getting involved in things foreigners shouldn't be involved in. That makes some locals uncomfortable. To avoid hurting anyone's pride, I shouldn't be interfering with the lives of left-behind children. But if I walk away from my students, that would break my heart. He didn't know what he had done wrong. All he could do was cut off all channels through which people could learn about him and avoid the public eye, so he could quietly stay with the mountain children. After 2013, no one knew why Lue Anke left the land that had become his destiny. He gave no farewell, no explanation. He had arrived quietly, and he left just as quietly. And then he disappeared for 13 years. No news. No record. No updates. As if the whole world had forgotten him. Now, 12 years later, Lue Anke, at 57 years old, has reappeared on camera. But he hasn't told anyone what happened during those years. He didn't return to Banlai village. He didn't resume teaching. Instead, he went to another remote village in Guangxi province and began a new life. He's still quiet, still low profile. Still unwilling to be called great by the media. He said, I don't want to move China, I just want to be moved by China. Today, that line carries even more weight. He's not a saint. Not a hero. Just an adult who silently stood beside children as they grew up. In an age where we rush forward, race upward, and chase speed, he chose the slowest, least noticeable path. No fanfare. No report cards. Just silent companionship during the children's loneliest, most confused moments. And that companionship changed their lives. He never preached ideals or shouted slogans. He simply used decades of quiet presence to carve out a path for himself and the children. Lue Anke once said, if someone lives for their family, then their family is their legacy. If someone lives for their students, then the students are their legacy. If someone lives for the progress of humanity, then humanity is their legacy. Now, he lives once again in the mountains. No longer young, but still resolute. May he find peace on that new land. And may we never forget his name, Lue Anke.